I witnessed, recorded, and produced these videotapes of the Washington, D.C. hearing. Their authenticity is above question.
This is produced as part of the ongoing work on the website, thewaythetruthandthelife.net.
This is a hearing about the government licensing the electrocution of people to cause grand mal seizures. Think of the millions of dollars, taxpayers' money, spent to pay psychiatrists and their supporters and for the worldwide travel in putting this conference together, while the victims and opponents had to pay their own way.
No, in a typical ECT treatment, how much current is given to a patient and over what period of time? Is there a range that you can give me on that?
Yes, there is a measure of energy called there is an energy measurement called the joule, and this is how most machines are measured and calibrated. There's very, very good evidence to show that there is a range at which most people will have seizures. And this has been reasonably well studied, and most practitioners use current stimulations that deliver approximately 60 to 100 joules, although this varies somewhat. But I must emphasize again that even though this may seem like a fairly large amount of energy, only 2 to 4% of it actually gets into the central nervous system.
Is there a way to compare that to household current?
It's a very difficult thing to compare to household current because the amount of current you deliver depends on. I'm just trying to think of a reasonable analogy.
Well, I just wonder if you got a shock from something in the house, it would be more or less than what you get from the.
If we're talking, I think the best analogy I can give to put it in perspective, the FDA has set up parameters for implantable devices into the brain for blind people, for example, to stimulate so they might see some spots of light. And the amount of electricity that comes into the brain from electroshock therapy is well below those limits set for those machines.
So we can't say compare it to household current?
Well, I would love to make a simple analogy, but it is very, very difficult to do that. And I think we can only talk about the amount of current that is actually impacting on each neuron. And I can simply say that the amount of current that impacts on a certain surface area of the brain is well below the standards that the FDA has set for chronic implanted brain stimulators.
How many joules are applied to the base of a 100-watt light bulb as opposed to the neuron in the brain? Is that a fair question? If it isn't, just tell me.
It is not a fair question because everyone focuses on the joules delivered by the machine, and a very small proportion of those joules actually get into the central.
Well, that's how I was asking specifically, are end up being actually applied to the neurons. How many joules end up actually being applied to the neurons of the brain as compared to the surface of a 100-watt light bulb?
If you look at the joules that enter the central nervous system, it's probably 2 or 3 joules over billions and billions and billions of neurons. And when you divide that out and look at the amount of joules, you get a very low level of stimulation.
I would like to say I gave this panel information on Thymatron, electroconvulsive devices, that maxes out at over 200 joules. That's over 148 foot-pounds. It means that the total maximum possible energy delivered to the skin, head, and brain would lift a pound weight 148 feet in the air. Now, how much of that goes through the neuron is a different question.
Dr. Weiner, do you know what the watts would be in a light bulb? Can you?
Well, if you had a 100-watt bulb, it would barely flicker at all. Probably not at all with the kind of intensities that he's talking about. Actually, to reach the central nervous.
15-watt bulb would flicker. That's what they want.
15-watt would probably not even flicker.
The data that I gave to them this morning, it comes out in a half a second. It's 360 watts.
I want to thank you for your time and your patience.
Could I please ask, I want to ask something about memory loss. Is it cumulative with the more treatment the patient gets?
Sometimes they can take the
Yes.
here immediately following this press conference. At this press conference, Dr. Peter Bregan, Dr. Edward Hoffman, and survivors of electroshock will be available for any of your questions, as long as you would like a question.
One electroshock treatment can equal the energy of 3 pistol shots to the head.
Dr. Rose accepted 2 pieces of literature for reference. I hope you might make copies available for the panel. We're talking about having a police factor information on the device and what we're using. And the one copy is the Thymatron, the brochure on a single sheet handout on the Thymatron pulse ECT device. And in there it shows the physical characteristics. I also included a current Winchester ammunition catalog because it shows the energy with which the bullets have. But running this machine at its maximum brings 201 joules of energy. That is 148 foot-pounds. If you're interested in actually understanding, like the truth in lending and what they're talking about, 1 joule is 0.07376 foot-pounds. But what this means is this device, when operated at its maximum capacity, will lift a 1 pound weight 148.7 feet. The energy contained in that is equivalent to 3 25 caliber pistol slugs. Now that is just pure factor data. To give that lifting of 1 pound energy equivalence in informed consent, how could you not do that? And if you're going to give a procedure, the total energy and the total time are the physical parameters that characterize the device. How could you not include that information? And if a doctor prescribes a drug, he has to record the prescription. Why isn't the total time and the total energy recorded? This has been an experimental hazardous device for years now. Why hasn't this information been gathered that we could be talking with concrete objective facts rather than subjective opinions of psychiatrists and patients?
One electroshock treatment can equal the energy of 3 pistol shots to the head.
All right, out with your gun. Out with your gun.
Okay, this won't hurt. It'll be over in just a moment.
What's that? Conductant.
Oh, dab will do you. Right, Mr. Jackson.
Open your mouth.
What's that?
This will keep you from biting your tongue.
Well.
Now just bite down on it. That's right. Just bite down. Now bite down on it.
Good.